Well, hello, everybody. After working about three-quarters of my professional career, one of the things that has always stuck with me is the fact that, I started saving, but I didn't know what I was saving to. That is a thing I think most companies don't really teach you, nor does school teach you or your professional career. Nobody says, hey, this is how much you need. A lot of times companies give you opportunities to save into a 401k, 403b, and all the different types of plans, or even an IRA outside of work. But the thing that you never actually understand is what are you driving towards, or what are you striving to get? And I think starting out my own career, looking back at 21, I didn't know how much I would need to retire. It was just something that I knew I needed to save for. And of course, I hoped at the end I would have enough. Nobody gives you dollars that you're looking towards. Nobody gives you percentages to strive for to make that goal. There are recommendations out there. I mean, some people say 10%, some people say 15, some say even up to 25% of your contributions. But again, you don't actually see those numbers. And then to what you're trying to go for, there are again guidelines that you can go to. I mean, one of the things that I wish I had known about was Fidelity's rule. And let me bring that up right now. Fidelity actually has a savings by age rule, and I really try to follow this myself. Again, three-quarters of my way in, I don't know what my future expenses are going to be when I decide to retire. So I use this guide to just make sure am I on the right track, and obviously as I get closer to retirement, I will fine tune it. But if you're not familiar with this rule, this is a rule that kind of gives you guidelines that at age 30, you should have 1 times of your salary saved. At age 35, you should have 2. At age 40, you should have 3 times, and so forth. And right now, I'm right around here. So at around age 50, I should have about 6 times your retirement saved for retirement. And this calculator or this savings by age rule is really dependent upon you saving and retiring around the age of 67 with 10 times of your income saved. If you decide to retire earlier, you actually need a multiple that higher than 10. For example, here's a little bit more detail around that. If you do plan to retire at 65, you would actually need 12 times your income saved. Again, that 67 age, you would need 10 times. And you can actually see here, if you retire at 70, you only need 8 because you'll be working a couple years longer. Your money will continue to grow. And again, these are just guidelines. They aren't the exact figures that you would need. But again, I try to follow this myself. But starting out, my employer, I'll use my example here, and these are my numbers of starting out many, many years ago. At around 21, I always say I started out at 27.5, and I did start putting money into my retirement plan. I will say that nobody told me to do 6%, which is what I actually contributed. I figured I would do 6 because that's what my company matched up to. And looking back, I feel like that maybe that was a mistake, but again, that's what I did. I started saving 6% of my 27.5, and I added in my match, which was a 50 cents on the dollar up to 6%. I think that's somewhat standard. I mean, some companies do more, some companies do less. But again, that it seems to be a fairly standard, getting about a 3% increase. And at age 21, if I was retiring at 67, this website, and again, I'll leave the link down below. This is from Dinkytown. They have lots of different calculators, which I really like. But at this point, I should have saved, when I'm going into retirement, about $1.5 million. So great number. Or actually, it's closer, I guess, a little bit closer to 1.6. But is that enough? I mean, that's the kind of the key. Is that going to be 10 times my salary? So this calculator does a 3% increase. You could use there are websites, and again, I'll throw this one as well down below in the description. But again, there are future salary calculators that you can put in your starting salary, put your average increase. Again, I went with 3%. And if we had put in 46 years, let's actually put in 46 years, calculate that out. And this is saying that I would have a salary of 107,000 at retirement. So do I have a multiple of 10 times my salary? And that would be, right? 10 times a little over 107. I mean, you're actually looking at a little over 1 million. So I do actually have that enough. This is something that I wish, again, looking back, I had done at different points, because obviously this is a very simplistic example of always getting 3%, always getting an 8% return. That isn't how the market happens. The market happens where you'll get a decrease, you'll get 20%. You might do 3% for a couple of years, and all of a sudden maybe get an 8% increase. And so you've been saving at a lower overall amount, and then all of a sudden your salary will jump, and that means your savings by age rule amount would actually increase. So I would use this. Looking back, I wish I had used this type of methodology. Again, I actually use this again today. But I take into account not only myself, because again, this is kind of simplistic. Starting out, I think this is a great rule. But again, I calculate in my wife as well. So luckily, in a lot of ways, we are both pretty much the exact same age. We're both looking to retire at the same age. So I can use the same X multiple for both of us. So I can take our combined income, multiply it by 6, and do I have that total amount saved? And that gives me, again, it's not an exact figure, but it gives me a confidence level that am I on the right pathway to a safe and financial future. So thank you.